This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you are in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we're going to be piping buttercream peonies. It's broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewatch, and rewind as desired. So we're going to make the colors for our buttercream peonies, and we're going to make two. The first one's going to be a pink. You can see I've got quite a bit of that in the bowl because peonies are big flowers, and it's our American style buttercream. And you can use pretty much any kind of buttercream you want. We're just using the American because it's easy. And we're going to use 3 liquid gel colors. We've got our neon bright pink, and then we're going to use a little lemon yellow, and finally a little royal blue. So I'm going to start with the pink. And I've just got a little bit over on the lid here, and I'm going to use just a toothpick, give myself a few tiny specks, and just give it a mix. So I'm going to make myself a nice light pink, and then I'm going to pull just a tiny bit over to the side and add some more. I'm just going to mix it together loosely. It doesn't actually have to be fully blended. I love peonies if the color is a little swirly and kind of diffuse and has some different tones in it, but it doesn't necessarily need to be kind of a fully striped bag where you have a defined line of, say, darker or lighter color on the outside edge. So I'm just going to pull a little off to the side, give it a drop to just some more color, just to make a darker shade there as well. And I like these big cups because they allow me to mix several shades at the same time. So you can see I've just got 2 shades in the cup. I'm just going to blend them together lightly, and then I'll load the whole thing into my bag. So just gently fold together, a couple of quick folds. You can see it's kind of swirled. I'm going to load it up just like that. So the next thing we're going to do is mix a tiny bit of green, and this is going to be for sepals. And I'm just going to use a tiny bit of my royal, a couple specks, and a little bit of that lemon yellow. And I just want to make a nice green that'll complement those pinks. And this is going to go on the base of the flowers, and it's just going to cover up some of the gaps in the petals. But if you're putting these closely together on a cake, you can even skip this step, so it's optional. So only mix the green if you want to go ahead and put those sepals on it. So especially if you're going to use them to decorate something like the outside edge of a design, or you think you're going to see the sides, this is a nice little touch in combination with your leaves to make those flowers look really finished. But if they're in a big mass arrangement and the bottoms are going to be hidden, then you can even skip this step. So a nice kind of little minty green there. It's going to be perfect on the bottom of our flowers. So let's talk about the bags and tips that we're going to use for this flower. We've got 2 of them. They're both 12-inch decorating bags fitted directly with the tips. In my bag with the green, I have fitted with a 102, so it's a small straight petal tip, and we're just going to use this for our sepals. My second one is for my pink, and you can see I just put that swirled buttercream in there without disturbing it too much, so I get a nice kind of mottled, muted effect and a nice little blend there. And this one I have fitted with a 122, so this is one of your larger curved petal tips, and we're going to use this one to make our actual petals for our peonies. So let's talk about the techniques that we're going to use to create our peonies. We're going to do several things with our 122 tip and then a single one with our 102. So the first thing with our 122 is we're going to create a disc, so kind of a platform to build our flower on. We're going to do this by holding that bag, the tip flat against the surface, and spinning our nail. This is going to give us that circular ribbon of frosting right there on the surface of the nail, and because it's curved, it's going to curve up a little bit on the outside edge. We'll do a few layers of this just to build it up and give us something to work on. We're going to use it also to create the centers. We're going to flip it over so it's kind of cupped and create a little center, and then once we get a little center going, we're actually going to jiggle the bag up and down to create a little ruffled effect on that center and give it a little bit of texture and depth so it looks like those nice tight closed petals on the inside. And then finally with our petals, we're going to do a nice soft arc. So we'll have it so the tip is curving in, and we'll just pull nice soft arches. And on peonies, I like to just ruffle them a tiny bit. And we'll do them in varying sizes and varying different orientations to give us our beautiful little flowers. The last thing we're going to do are little sepals. Because we have those little curves, there'll be some little gaps at the end, and if you want to, you can fill those in with the sepals if you feel like they're going to be viewed by your customer or from the side, even by yourself if you're just making a lovely little treat for yourself. And we're going to do some little sepals just by holding this tip flat against the surface. In this case, it's going to be the tray. Later, it'll be against our flower, and we're just going to draw a little triangle. And the tighter you do it, the more you'll close that little gap. So we just do it to kind of fill in that little area, give it a little green. It looks like then it's got some little sepals coming up on the side, and you can fill in around it with leaves to take up any more of that gap and hide any little imperfections at the bottom of your flowers. So let's talk about how we take those techniques that we just talked about and put them together to create our blossoms. Since we're making peonies, we're going to start with that disc. We're going to go a few rounds to build it up a little bit. That's going to give us a little height and also give us a little bit of a base for those petals to attach to that we're going to put on later. We're then going to do a nice little center. So we'll do first just a little cone by spinning, and then we'll spin and kind of wriggle the bag up and down to give it a nice rippled, ruffled effect. And that'll create a lovely little kind of center with some texture and movement to it, which is going to be fantastic. And then we're going to move to piping petals. And the orientations on this one are a little bit wonky, but I think it's actually pretty kind of natural. So the first we're going to do kind of flat against the side, kind of nesting right against that center and building it up so it kind of reaches that outside edge. So we just want to create a nice layer of those beautiful petals and go around and kind of fill out that center and make it wider. We're then going to take the tip and slide it up kind of on those petals. So that curved point curves over the top a little bit and kind of encloses it. And that's going to give it a nice look like you have a center that's starting to open up and some of those larger petals on the outside are still kind of cupping over and kind of enclosing it. And it's going to be really beautiful. And as we go and do successive layers, we're going to do bigger and bigger arches on some of them. So once we go up a little bit, then we're going to go back down. So we'll go kind of straight out the side, move it up a little bit, and then we'll go back down. And this is where we'll really start attaching to that disc. We'll do petals, nice big arches, and that's going to cover up the bottoms of these and kind of hide them. And we'll just go down until we have very little gaps left at the bottom. And if we need to, we'll use our 102 and cover any of those gaps that are remaining with little sepals. And this will give us a nice look like a big peony that's still kind of closed in the center. So we've got our flower nail out, we've got our bags ready to go. Let's get started. Bags kind of 3 o'clock position, meaning the back end is off over to the right. I'm going to lay it flat on the surface and just let it spin. And you can see that makes this nice little cupped disc right there. And I'm just going to build up a few layers with that. This is going to give me a platform to work on and give my petals something to attach to once I'm ready to start piping. So you can see it's a nice little buildup, a nice fat disc right there. I'm going to flip the tip over so it's curving in now. And I'm just going to start right in the center, squeeze and spin until I get a nice little cone there in the middle. And that's going to make the start of this center. I'm going to hold it in that same orientation, so curved in, the point is off towards kind of, I want to say like, what is that? 10:30, right? And the back of the bag is going towards my right shoulder, and I'm just going to wiggle up and down as I spin around. So you can see, same motion, I'm just adding this little ripple to it. And you can see that makes a nice center where it looks like these beautiful petals that are closed together. And it's really built up that mass. I'm just going to quickly clean off my tip and squeeze down the contents of my bag because we're getting ready to start making some petals. So first thing I'm going to do, first row, we're just going to be right here next to that mass that we made in the center, soft arc towards ourselves, really kind of lined up right alongside of it. and you can just wriggle them just a tiny bit, just to give them those kind of feathery edges on the outside if you so choose or if you like. You can always do straight petals if that's easier to start with. And it usually takes about 3 to go around it. And then I'll do a second round just to enclose those. And this usually takes me to the outside edge of my disc. You can see now I've kind of built up so that I'm meeting up with that outside edge, and the rest of the petals will have something to connect to. So I'm now going to take my bag, instead of being right next to that center, I'm going to slide it up just a little bit so that the next round kind of encloses those. You can see it's kind of coming over. Just wriggle and feather them just a little bit if you want to, and you can see that kind of makes that nice enclosed center. And now we're going to slide it down so it's kind of lined up with those sides and really pull up nice and big over the top. And start putting some petals on the side. You can see that's giving us a beautiful look to our peonies, and we've still got some gaps down there, so we can just keep working, go a little lower down on each round of petals until you reach the bottom. When you get to the bottom, if you still got some gaps, you can fill them in either with small petals, or you can go in and put on some sepals. But you can see that gives you that beautiful look of a nice tightly closed peony. And they're very easy to finish with just a few quick triangles on that green, anywhere it's needed, anywhere there's a little gap and you think it might be visible to whoever is viewing your creations. And it just gives it that little pop of green that'll also help your blossoms stand out. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecoratingschool.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.